What up, everyone? Back doing another video talking about sports, what's been going on lately. Sorry I haven't made any recently. It's kind of been all busy with the holidays and winter break and everything. Got an extended one thanks to some lucky scheduling at St. John's. But all in all, I'm here to talk about some more sports heading into this week and recap some of the previous stuff that has been going on. So I'm going to start off with St. John's first, my school where I go to college. And they've been on a little bit of a slide recently. Since I left, they have now sustained 3 losses, all of which are in the Big East. The Seton Hall loss, don't even get me started on that. I ranted on Twitter for a long, long time about it and to friends. Should have never lost. Everyone knows we shouldn't have lost that game. And we'll argue that until we're old and gray. In fairness, though, if you want to play ticky-tack, though, we probably should have lost to VCU because it is debated that Shamori Pons fouled the VCU shooter on the final play of the game when he was shooting a three. If that's the case, he has 3 free throw attempts, and he only needs to make 2 to win the game, 1 to send it to overtime. So, in fairness, trade off, but we definitely should have won that Seton Hall game by a long shot. The Villanova game, I really think, our size ended up coming back to hurt us, The refs weren't, egregious like they were in the Seton Hall game, but they weren't like at their best. And they did have 2 of the refs that blew the game against Seton Hall on this staff as well, and the Villanova loss just a little over a week ago. I definitely think we could have won that game, but I understand we didn't. And ultimately, we shot horrible down the stretch. If I remember correctly, we made 4 field goals over the last 8 minutes and like 1 over the last 3 or 4 minutes, which is just inexcusable. I mean, you will not win a basketball game whether you're in college or you're in the pro, and it's that close of a game in that environment with only making 1 field goal and 4 in the last 8 minutes. That's just inexcusable. Okay, everyone needs to take accountability. Yes, we played some awful defense. We were in it kind of there late, but ultimately Trimble fouled a guy that ultimately sealed it, which, I really thought we might have been able to come back, but that kind of sealed it. So, I was upset that we lost, but not as upset as the Seton Hall game because, that's a 50-50 game, and you can't win all the 50-50 games. We lost that one, okay? DePaul, you're going to lose some crap games in or everywhere. Like, every team gets a game in college basketball where, like college football, Ohio State had this year, They have some really good wins, but then they have a crappy loss to Purdue where they get blown out, okay? I'm sure Duke will get one like that this year. Virginia, Michigan, they're all going to get one, okay? Ours kind of came this past Saturday when we played DePaul, okay? Now, given I understand Shamori Pons did not play, he sat out to rest his back. That's respectable and very understandable. He plays, we definitely win that game. However, even without him, what hurt us is our lack of size. Okay, our biggest guy, Sadiq Keita, was out, or excuse me, he wasn't out, but he was out of the game late. And he's our biggest guy to defend against the big man. And unless I'm mistaken, DePaul had a guy that was 6'10 that dropped 27 on us. And they had another guy that was 6'8, 6'9 that dropped 21. So it's not like DePaul's the biggest team out there, but Keita's our biggest guy. He's 6'9, 6'10. After him, you have Marvin Clark, who's 6'7. Simon is 6'5. Trimble shorter than that. Mustafa Heron is 6'4, which, by the way, I'll mention him in a minute. But overall, I definitely don't think we lose that game again if Shamori plays, but it's going to happen, okay? And it's losing those 2 games, especially back-to-back, is extremely understandable, and it reflects that in the rankings why we dropped from number 24 to number 34. Definitely think we deserve to be ranked after beating Marquette and Georgetown. However, it's understandable that we lost. We play Creighton tomorrow night at home. Creighton's currently a bubble team right now, and we're currently in, according to Lenardi and other so-called bracketology experts. So I definitely think we'll, be okay in that game. Even if Shamori doesn't play, I think it'll definitely be closer. However, I think we'll still come out with a W tomorrow night. If we don't, then that has to be a little concerning because we will now have 4 losses in the Big East. And I mentioned some friends and my roommate, Anthony, who, if you watch the videos, you know he's been on before. We went 12-0 in the conference, or non conference, excuse me, not including the Duke game yet. So assume we go 12-1 in non conference. Assume we lose to Duke. We really can't afford to lose more than 6, 7 games in the conference because I think after that, we don't have a good non conference and it'll force us out of the bubble. Even if we get a win record by like, a 22-12 mark, or excuse me, not 22-12, 22-9, so to speak, I think we missed the tournament because of our non conference is bad. So I really don't think, we got 3 losses, 3 are in the Big East. There's still some tough games, every game on the road in the Big East is tough. There'll be some tough home ones, Villanova, Seton Hall, to name a few. So we can't really afford to be losing too much more, A loss here and there will happen, but we can't afford too many more. Moving along to Heron, he was great early on. I think he needs to pick it up a little, if you get what I'm saying. It's not that he's played bad, but his average last year, if unless I'm mistaken, was like 20 points in the SEC. And at one point this year, he was at 17, 18, which is, very good. That's what we need. He's been kind of like short these past couple of weeks. He hasn't really been scoring that much. He gets 13, 14, 16 points, and it's like a quiet one, In order to help balance out Shamori, because, Shamori can't go off for 30-something every night, okay? He just cannot. He needs help from everyone else. Clark has been stepping up. Simon had a pretty good game recently. So, Mustafa's that second guy that needs to be on the scoring rampage. Moving along from college basketball, though, for a little bit, I want to mention college football, really quick. That season's over now. We had some great bowl games. Obviously, the semifinals and the championship weren't what everyone expected. They weren't really games, especially the championship. Alabama gets blown out. However, the next couple days that followed that, everyone was talking about, this is something more for Alabama because they lost by, 20-something points, 30 points. And I'm just sitting here reading it all and hearing it all on ESPN and Fox Sports and CBS, and I'm just like, seriously? This is Alabama. I get it's the worst loss under Nick Saban at Alabama, but, Alabama's the New England Patriots of college football, okay? They're going to be fine next year, okay? They'll probably be the preseason number 1 or number 2, okay? They'll probably go 13-1, 14-1, or 12-1, excuse me, and get to the SEC championship game and win that and make the playoff. They're all going to probably do that, okay? Tua had a bad game. You can't expect him to not have a bad game, okay? It was his first loss as a college quarterback. It happens, okay? What's it called? Remember Jameis Winston's first college loss? He was doing pretty good all those times. And then he had the absolute horrible game where it just kind of all fell apart for one game against Oregon. Okay, it happens. It's not that big of a deal. Now listen, it happened in a championship, okay? But they have 5 championships under Saban. Could have had 7 potentially. They were 1 play away from having 6 if Deshaun Watson and Hunter Renfrow don't score in the 2015 championship that happened in 2016, 2016 championship that happened in 2017. They're going to be fine. Don't read that much into it, okay? Clemson's very good. Clemson deserved to win the championship this year, and I think they were the best team in college football. Best all around, best balanced. But don't read in too much that this is the end for Alabama or it means something more or anything like that, okay? Saban's going to dominate. Alabama's going to be right there again in the thick of things next year. It's how it's going to be, okay? That's just kind of speak on college football. Moving along, though, to another college football-related topic. Kyler Murray, Heisman winner, was drafted by the Oakland A's last June. Announced yesterday that he declared for the NFL draft. And it's obviously sparking a large controversy because, or not controversy, but a lot of people have an opinion because he got drafted to play baseball. Now he has to get back his signing bonus, which is fine. He'll make that up. And there's going to be some team out there that's going to go nuts and take him in the first round, okay? And think that he's the guy that can turn their franchise around, okay? I'll save this for another video, but I think it's absolutely ludicrous for him to go number one overall, especially when you consider some of the defensive talent that's in this draft, like Nick Bosa, Ed Oliver, Rashawn Gary, Josh Allen, Devin White, just to name a few. They should be at the top of this draft, not Kyler Murray. But if I were him and I was in his shoes, this is just me again, okay? He obviously has the right to do whatever he wants to do, okay? If football makes him happy, play football. But if I was in his shoes, I would take baseball. Because even though you have to be in the minors for a while and you might not make as much money in the short term like you can in football, there's a better chance that you could have a longer career in baseball and potentially make more money. Okay, if you hit it out of the park like everyone thinks you can, you're making over $100+ million. Okay, and your contract is going to be guaranteed. Okay, it's not like in the NFL where they say, oh, you got 5 years, $100 million with $65 million guaranteed. Well, that's $35 million that you may not get if you don't hit certain, bonuses or benchmarks or things of that nature. Baseball is just a safer bet. You'll always have football, and you can always get drafted again in football. Bo Jackson did it. Look at it. He didn't like going to Tampa. People forget that. Bo Jackson was the number 1 overall draft pick in football one year, but he didn't want to go to Tampa Bay. So he refused to, never signed a contract, and he was available again the next year. And that's when the Raiders took him in, I believe, the 7th round of the 1987 draft, I want to say, NFL. 7th round. So, I think baseball is ultimately a safer bet for Kyler Murray. I'll do another video later on, probably maybe next week or when I get back to school, recapping some more college football stuff and previewing some of the teams for next year or players. Moving along, though, into some more college basketball briefly. I think we're going to be having a great time in January and February watching college basketball. I mentioned the Big East. The ACC is loaded. Syracuse is always a perennial powerhouse. Same with Notre Dame. North Carolina, my Tar Heels. I love St. John's. They're my team. But if they played UNC in the national championship, I got to root for UNC. I'm sorry, I do. Been rooting for them since I was 8 years old. Watched every Tyler Hansborough game, every Joel Berry. They're my team. They're somewhere in there. Virginia is extremely good. Virginia Tech's very good. Duke is good. If you watched the games on ESPN last night, Kansas and Duke was Kansas and Texas was one hell of a game last night that came down to the wire at Allen Fieldhouse. Texas Tech and Baylor, 2 teams that are probably going to be on the bubble, but it was still a high-quality game for people to watch. There's some more that'll be on later this week. The Big Ten obviously will have some decent games. Might not watch that much of the Pac-12, but some other like mid-majors, like the Atlantic 10 or Conference USA or the AAC, definitely catch some of those games because you're going to see some quality competition in them. And I honestly don't want to miss it. If you can stay up to watch a team like a Nevada or a Gonzaga, do it because both can easily make the Final Four this year. I really do think that. Nevada is extremely tall and has the most transfers in the country, which, believe it or not, St. John's is not, which is going to help them in the long run, I think. Gonzaga, their loss, they lost without their best player. And they also beat Duke without their best player, who was out injured. I'm not sure if he's back yet, but they're a force to be reckoned with, no doubt, like many other years. So, yeah, college basketball is going to be great this year. Definitely watch some games when you get a chance. Mondays are always big with Big Monday. Super Tuesday with usually has some ACC games in there. Saturdays have college game day going there. You can find a couple of good games on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Sundays on CBS, there's usually a pretty decent Big Ten game or maybe an ACC one. So college basketball is going to be pretty good this year. Moving along into some other sports, I'll quickly give you my picks for the NFL championship games this weekend, AFC and NFC championship. I definitely think these were the best 4 teams to be in the championship for the AFC and the NFC. On the NFC side, I'm going to go with the Saints, and I think they cover the 3 points, but not by much. I think it's like a 4 or 5 point game, maybe 6. It'll definitely be a shootout. Ultimately, though, I don't know how strong the Rams' defense is. They have a lot of names, but they've been too inconsistent throughout the year. And Drew Brees playing at home with the New Orleans home crowd, I think is enough to get him back to the Super Bowl. On the AFC side, I want to see Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs make it and Andy Reid get back to a Super Bowl to maybe win one. Finally after losing it 13 years ago or 14 years ago with McNabb. 13 or 14, I don't recall. But I'm going to pick the Patriots. And I mentioned earlier in this video that Alabama was the New England Patriots of college football. Well, in college football, you're taught growing up and when you play the odds to, if you just do straight money line, never bet against Alabama and Nick Saban. Well, I kind of follow the same philosophy with the NFL. I never bet against the New England Patriots, Tom Brady, and Bill Belichick. Am I going to be shocked if they lose? Absolutely not. All right, if the Chiefs win, if the Chiefs blow them out, power to them. All right, I definitely think that's, worthy of it. Same thing with Brady and Belichick. They get blown out. Don't read too much into it. 2 years ago when they won the Super Bowl, they got blown out in Week 4 by the Seahawks, and everyone started saying, "Oh, this is the end. This is the end of Brady and Belichick. They're gonna go off the rail." No. But I'm gonna pick the Patriots solely because I know better to not pick against them. So I think the Super Bowl will be New Orleans Saints against New England Patriots. Two aging QBs. I think that would be a storybook one, especially because potentially the winner of that game retires in the offseason or maybe even right there on the spot like Jerome Bettis did. So that could add some stakes to the matchup as well. Moving along into some other things. Baseball, Machado and Harper are still free agents among the notable ones. There was a report that Machado would decide this week. I honestly don't think he will because I think he's waiting to see if the Phillies or that third mystery team match or give a bigger offer than the White Sox do. White Sox offered him an 8-year, $250 million contract, which is honestly less than I thought he was going to get. I really did think he was going to get like $350 million. Maybe because he's waited so long it's hurt him. Maybe, I'm not sure. Same with Harper. I'm getting this vibe that he's not going to get that $400 million or even $350, which would set the record. 2 years ago we talked that everyone was saying, "Oh, Bryce Harper, he's the $500 million man." Well, if Machado can't get $350 or $400, it's going to be hard for me to see Bryce Harper again as well. I definitely think one of them signs before the end of January. I think the other one, whoever it may be, might go into early February to drag the process out. Because ultimately, these are life decisions, and they want to make the best possible choice for them, Moving along into one last topic that I want to talk about is tennis. Believe it or not, I am a fan of tennis. I don't watch every single match that's on TV on ESPN, but I do like to watch the majors, especially the U.S. Open, Wimbledon. The French Open's a little hard to catch because it's on at obscure hours because it's on overnight, especially with Wimbledon, the Australian Open, which is on now. You go ahead, check it out, watch the Australian Open. It's on ESPN networks. If you have DirecTV, you get the mixed channel so you can watch every single match, including like the featured ones. While I'm not saying, wake up at 5:30 in the morning or stay up till 1 to try and watch Roger Federer or Novak Djokovic, stay up to watch some of them because normally at like 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 8:30, 9, when most of us are up, you can still catch a decent match featuring a Stan Wawrinka or a John Isner who actually lost, but a guy like him on the men's side. On the women's side, you might be able to catch Serena play. Venus, I think, is on early tonight. She's playing Maria Sharapova, Angelina Kerber. So you can catch some decent matches, I'll be at school and I will stay up for the final that day when it comes to Australian Open, but, definitely try to watch some of these because Roger Federer's getting old, He's the Tom Brady or the Eli Manning, so to speak, of, or not Eli Manning, I don't know why I said that. He's the Tom Brady of tennis. Okay, he's the GOAT. Everyone knows it. He's the best of all time. Nadal is getting up there in age, too. He's a little younger than Federer, but he's had a lot of injuries and his body's starting to take a wear. Djokovic has had trouble getting, some wins recently with Federer and Nadal having this surge over the last years that they've had. You know, Andy Murray, I would say to watch, but unfortunately he just lost last night in 5 sets in a pretty decent match. I actually woke up this morning and caught like the last couple of games of it. But definitely watch some of it if you get a chance. Turn on ESPN, watch it after the college basketball games, or turn on ESPN2. I think that's the channel it's on, because you definitely don't want to miss them. You don't get to see them very often or much of anymore. So you want to catch them while you can before they're gone. That's it for this video. That's all I got on my mind. That's all I wanted to talk about. You know, stay tuned. I may do one later this week, recapping the St. John's game versus Creighton and previewing their next opponent. If not, I'll probably do one next week on Martin Luther King Day or the day after to kind of preview some of the stuff that's coming up and some of the other stuff that, has recently passed. So thank you as always for listening. Feel free to text me or Snapchat me or, Twitter DM me your thoughts on my takes and have some conversations. I always love to have conversations in sports. It's what I'm most knowledgeable about. I can't have conversations about cars or houses or anything like that. So I love talking about sports. Feel free to contact me. If not, thanks for listening. You'll see other guests on here in a couple of weeks when I'm back at St. John's. And we'll be talking about sports throughout the entire semester and hopefully beyond. So thanks for listening. Good luck to Peaburg tonight in their match against Hanover Park. And let's go Tar Heels tonight. And always, let's go Johnnies tomorrow.